It's time for the movie raid, and tonight's victim is Mike Farrell, actor, producer, amongst others, who's played as BJ Honeycutt in the TV show MASH, who's played in Memorial Day. What's going on? What have we been doing this year?
Doing a lot of playing. This year, I'm about to do, I did a reading of a play, and I'm going to go to a festival in Durango, Colorado to do a workshop, the play, which should be interesting. And I'm going to do a benefit of a different play. I do a one-man show with the Sierra Club, which is an environmental organization, and maybe some film work, depending on what comes up.
Now you go toward the plays. What makes you go toward doing plays mostly compared to the television and films? Is it just because of the characters are more interesting when you do plays, or the performance seems a little bit more crispier compared to what you see on television and film for yourself?
No, I think I like to do it all. I'm not offered that much in film anymore. The last interest in me to do a film was a couple of weeks ago, and it was a silly script, and I didn't see the point in doing it. This play, the one I did the reading of and we'll work on in Colorado, may go on, which would be interesting because it's a play about something, and I've been spoiled in my career. I've been able to work in areas and on projects that are about important things, and that seems to me to be a great way to combine one's time and efforts and talents, I guess, with something that's meaningful.
A lot of times, well, it seems like a stint, so to speak, that they just take work whenever they take it. I mean, that's good to take the work, but at the same time, I mean, you really got to put the passion into it as well in terms of that. I mean, not just take whatever's there, because sometimes it could be good and sometimes it can be bad as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a personal choice, I guess. Some actors think they just have to keep working, and some actors need the money, and I don't want to criticize, but some actors just have no particular description about what they are interested in doing. They just, if they get the call and get the work, then they just do it. And if that works for them, fine. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and having you doing various drama-type films, and then some of it involved a little bit political, how do you deal with doing roles that you either don't entirely either believe or agree with? How do you, whether it's a religious or social background or even the direction it falls, how do you really deal with that?
Well, for me, it's a question. I can certainly play people and have played people whose actions or whose philosophies I disagree with. It's really a question of what the statement is that's being made by the show, or whether it's a film or a play or whatever. Sean Penn once said an interesting thing, I thought. He said films are either, and by films he means motion pictures, but I think it's true of any film project or any project, any theatrical project. They're either life-affirming or life-denying. And if they're life-denying, I don't see the point in doing them. And if they're life-affirming, there's every reason to do them.
Yeah, and some actors actually protest against doing such characters. I mean, that's a great thing. Of course, you want to express your opinions, express how you feel about doing this character or other characters, or even very stereotype. Do you think there should be a different way to go with that, or just accept it, do the role, and then move on? They don't feel they should do that type of character.
Well, then they shouldn't take the job. I think that's pretty straightforward. If you can't play the character or disagree with the character as written, then don't take the job. The writer has a point of view, the director has a point of view, hopefully the producer even has a point of view, and if you think that point of view is incorrect, then why lend your time and talents to it? But to take a character, to take a job, to play a character that has an action or has a philosophy or an ethic that's contrary to your own and object to it, seems to me to be silly. Why take the job?
Yeah, and there's always excuses too. That's only the problem is, like, don't throw excuses out there just so you can make that money or whatever. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. I mean, do or don't. Everybody has a choice. And now sometimes the choice is not exactly the best choice, but that's the thing of it.
I can't frankly understand why somebody would take a role that they didn't want to play. I mean, what that makes no sense to me. Well, that's their problem, isn't it? There is what they used to in the business call a money character, and if you get trapped into this idea that they're only going to cast you because you play this person again and again and again in different circumstances, and you don't like it, there's nobody to blame but yourself.
Now, many actors like yourself has been acting for a long time, and there can be a point to where an actor may not be actually satisfied from performing anymore. How do you deal with this kind of type of feeling when still continuing to act? I mean, having to basically feed the fire, so to speak.
You mean keep the wolf away from the door? If I didn't enjoy the work, I wouldn't do it. If it wasn't fun for me, if it wasn't challenging, if it wasn't interesting, I'd stop. If you get tired of acting, then don't act. Nobody's forcing people to act or do anything else in show business. If you are lucky enough to get offered a job, then you make a determination if it's for you and if you want to do it and if you can do it and do it well, and if not, go to the next one.
Yeah, many people, like, sometimes they overdo it too. Like, they'll overexhaust themselves to the point where they're still doing roles, but the roles are no longer becoming a better performance as their own like they used to, or simply either they're not putting enough focus or not just caring anymore because, like I said, they're not satisfied anymore.
I guess I don't understand how somebody puts herself or himself in that position. If there are some actors, I will agree, that sort of walk through it, if you will, take the paycheck and do the role, but don't really put any energy into it, and that's sad to see. And that's also pretty cheap stuff. But that is either a function of age or contempt, I think, on the part of that actor. And if she or he is tired of the business, doesn't want to work, and yet is willing to take a role even because of for the money or for whatever, and is going to kind of bluff it, like being in a boxing ring and laying down, then I don't have any respect for that.
It seems like the television is just like by far going above the film industry at this time. I mean, look how many shows is popping out like every week. There's always something different. But do you think the quality is kind of like being watered down because they're just pushing out all this product out and actually stamping anything on it?
I think television is the most powerful technology ever developed, and there's a struggle going on. The broadcast networks are still trying to figure out how to attract an audience to their shows, while cable and the off-network outlets are really doing extraordinary, some very good and some lousy, of course, but some very good and very ingenious, gripping, and challenging shows. I think the networks, because they are constrained by a need to keep audience numbers up and charge X numbers of dollars for their commercial spots, that is really why they put shows on the air, are lagging way behind. And I think that's going to change the business, or it is changing the business, and has changed it considerably in the last decade or so. There's always bad stuff. Just like there's shoddy products in any market, bad cars, bad houses, bad soft drinks. And there will be people who can simply get an opportunity to put a show together, and they don't have the talent, the ability, the inspiration, whatever it is that makes a good art, good theater. They just sort of slap stuff together and put it out there, and sometimes the audience is so dumb or so bored or so ignorant of their own capabilities that they'll buy into it and say, "Oh, this is fine." They accept much less, I think, than they should in terms of quality. And I hate to see that personally, but that, one of the great things about it is you can turn the channel or you can turn it off. So nobody has to watch television, and nobody has to watch these terrible shows. They can find something better. I wish people were somehow more motivated, though, to look for the better things than to support the crappy ones, because there's no all that does is keep the crappy ones on the air.
Yeah, and they replace the good ones that like just recently get canceled and like may have made some money, let's say the first season, and then halfway through the second season, then suddenly just gets canceled, or either it's not generating enough like enough feedback for the show itself, or backers, or whatever. There's like so many factors involved in just why it just got canceled.
Yeah, it's hard to know why shows get canceled. Sometimes it's because they want that space for something they think is going to be better. Sometimes it's because they run out of money. Sometimes it's because they run out of enthusiasm, as you suggest, and talent. Bottom line is, it's a business. People are going to, the people that are in the position to make decisions about whether or not something goes on the air or stays on the air, they do it for their own reasons, and most of their reasons have to do with profit, making money rather than losing money. So if they think they can make more money putting garbage on the air than they can by putting quality on the air, they'll put garbage on the air. And that's where I think the audience needs to stand up and say no.
Yeah, either lack of support or between companies, but it also leads to the social media. So, do you think social media has become more dangerous for actors or anybody in the entertainment industry now?
I think social media has the potential to be dangerous for anybody, not just actors. I think social media is something that isn't fully, the power of it isn't fully understood yet, and for the most part, people who do understand the power, the potential for social media, some of them are pretty unethical folks who are trying to use it for their own benefit rather than the benefit of the society that it's supposed to be helping. So I have some concerns about social media generally. The concern has to do with the fact that, as I said earlier, television is a very powerful medium. Television has created this whole concept of, well, it didn't create the concept, but it has utilized the whole concept of celebrity. And when somebody got famous for being on television, that made some people hungry for that quality, that fame, that characteristic that could be applied to them. And social media has offered the opportunity for anybody who wants to put herself or himself out on YouTube or out on any one of the numbers. I don't even know some of the names of some of these social media outlets, but to put themselves out there and try to get attention. And sometimes they do it with very, I think, self-demeaning, not intentionally, but nonetheless self-demeaning behaviors or statements or whatever. And if they get a big reaction to it and they become celebrated, they become known, that feeds this needy part of their personalities. But it also cheapens the whole concept of that was established by talented people becoming celebrated for doing meaningful works, whether they qualify as art or not. Entertainment isn't necessarily art, but if it moves people, then it is.
Yeah, and sometimes words can hurt people. Sometimes they use it as a relief to get all that anger and frustration, and this definitely would hurt anybody in the entertainment industry, or pretty much anybody in general, especially if you're trying to make a reputation. And sometimes when you say certain things over this social media, it can either kill your reputation and you make no business anywhere you go.
Yeah, I guess, but that's like anything else. So in your social circle, even separate from television, if you're in your social circle and you say stupid things, you're going to get a reputation as being a person who says stupid things. If you do it in media that reaches tens or hundreds or thousands or sometimes millions of people, then you're going to be seen as a fool that many more times. I don't follow social media, so I don't have much of a sense of what the repercussions are for some people who make fools of themselves. But I know that there are people who make themselves known as a result of the way they utilize social media, and sometimes the benefits are a little hard to see.
Well, go ahead and plug in anything that you would like to promote. I mean, tell us about the plays again, any dates, anything that you release on film and television, etc.
Well, the show I'm going to do that's a benefit is in Santa Monica, California at the Broad Theater on the 30th of September. Benefits the Sierra Club, which is an environmental organization. It's a play I've done for the last 4 years. It's a one-man show about a scientist by the name of David Keeling. It's called Dr. Keeling's Curve. Dr. Keeling's Curve is essentially a pictorial demonstration of what he saw as a result of his studies, which was the rise in CO2 in our atmosphere and what it's doing to our climate, and more to the point, what it's doing to our Earth. It's about climate change or global warming. It explains it to people. It says it is happening. It says it's a dangerous thing, and if we don't get it under control, it's going to do great harm to people in this country and around the world.
Well, there you have it, everybody. That is actor Mike Farrell.